We are recording once again. Jake, thank you very much. Becoming a Thursday night thing. The time we're still going to nail it down, but we're getting in there. Hey, I think today we're actually going to integrate a screen share thing, which we weren't doing before. So, hey, we're all learning because I'm good at talking. That's about it. Jake, how you doing today? And what are we talking about today?
Oh, I'm doing great, and I can tell you're doing good. Let's let's start with how I missed you last Thursday. What was going on last Thursday? I heard you had a
Last
holiday or something.
last Thursday, I have to apologize. Yes, there was a holiday here in Brazil. And so we ended up doing it since it was on a Thursday. We took a 4 day holiday and we went down to the canyons. So it's not the size of the Grand Canyons, but imagine the Grand Canyon just shrunk. They are about a mile deep. So in depth, it is similar to the Grand Canyon, just not the vastness of it because here it becomes mountain ranges. So the canyon becomes mountain ranges. So there are areas to where there's there's about a half mile drop off. After you go about 200 feet, then it's a half mile. So you hope you don't slip. There aren't any fences or anything else around the place, and so I'm afraid of heights, and it can be incredibly dangerous. However, the view is incredible. I'll have to send you some pictures of it, and it's just a lot of nature. It's high up, so it doesn't have the jungle vegetation that we're used to in Brazil and that sort of stuff, like this image behind me, which is in Peru, not here. But it's still lush. It still has green, even though it's smaller, bushy stuff, because it's higher up and it's colder. Just think about the Rocky Mountains having half of the Grand Canyons being in the middle of the Rocky Mountains. Let's look at it that way. Okay, and that's basically what I went visit last weekend. So I apologize, family vacation. I wasn't here, but I don't regret it. It was a fantastic trip. I'll probably have to edit some kind of video together for everybody to be able to see that if they so choose. But yeah, that was last week. Apologize, but we're here again Thursday, good as new. So, how we
Okay,
doing today, Jake?
I'm doing good. So I got to ask you: did you get a little wobbly legged up there, being scared of heights? Does it get hard to walk, or
No, no,
is it a little?
I don't get to that point, but I get lower. I get closer to the ground, and I take smaller steps. And my wife doesn't have any qualms at all like that. And she was taking a photo with the camera over the edge and all this kind of shit. And I'm just going, no. Um, my problem is that whenever the quantum multiverse, you see the different potentialities and possibilities. And even though it might not happen that one time you're there, the reason there's a fear there is because it has happened with a certain probability in the past. And so if you don't want to have that particular potential outcome, it's best to not go down the road that takes you to that outcome. And staying 6 feet away from the edge of a cliff to me is a safe bet to reduce the negative potentialities in my future multiverse. Um, that's that's why I'm not coming closer to the edge. In the Grand Canyon, I came closer to the edge um, because there's not so much movement, the water and everything else. It's just windy and there's all kinds of stuff around to make sure you don't slip, even though stuff does happen. Um, but here in some areas, it was like a lookout, except with a half mile drop. So yeah, I sat away from the edge while my wife was taking selfies with the selfie stick. Look at me here! Look at the eagles flying. Here, stand up here and spread your arms. Fuck you, no thank you. I'm right good where I am. It's a beautiful place. Can we go down now, please? Um, the second day we were there, we actually went from the river up under one of those, and so yeah, that's my favorite kind of trail because we were walking through the river about 3 or 4 times. it's kind of like one of those places. I don't know, in Oklahoma and in Texas, we don't have the beach close by, in Dallas, but at least. And so we go to where the rivers are and we swim in the river, and you bathe on the bank of the river, and you sunbathe on the bank of the river, and that sort of stuff. And so, that second day it was like that as well. We just laid out on the rocks in the middle, because that huge cliff, well, rocks do fall off. And the river where we were walking in is called the River of the Cows, or Cow River. And they're going, well, why is it Cow River? Because on the top of that cliff, there were ranchers. And sometimes at night when it's foggy and the cows don't notice, they kind of fall off. And so the people on the bottom, they'd go to this river and they'd just see dead cows all over the place. And so they called it Cow River. So I don't like being a cow, so I don't get close to the edge, because moo. No. So yeah, the second day was much better. We were looking at it from the bottom, because the guide was also telling us, if you notice in the river, when we got into it, the stones were really small pebbles. Then as we were getting closer, the rocks kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger, because it's the wear on the rocks as they're working their way down the river. Because as we got closer to where the gorges were, under the gorges, yeah, the rocks were 10 feet tall, at least, by 15 wide. So yeah, there were some pretty damn big rocks. Now imagine one of those damn things coming down and hitting you on the head. So it's not a good thing to, and it's a flash flood area. It can be problematic, but on that particular day, it was beautiful. We went there early, and afterwards there were like 35, 40 people in 3 different groups that just showed up because they all wanted to do the same thing. So yeah, after a while, it looked like an entire village up there at the mouth of the river and stuff. So, but it was a good day. I always enjoy nature, and that's one of the reasons why I'm here in Brazil. It's a beautiful place to be. Just anyway, my reality's got its own things, but yeah, I've enjoyed the nature here. It's beautiful stuff to see, definitely. Speaking of beautiful stuff to see, I've been to the border in the US, not recently, but I crossed that border hundreds of times. So I can definitely say I've been there more than Kamala or Joe. But
I was just about to ask you, have you really been to the border? Because a lot of people like to say they've been to the border and haven't been to the border.
Oh yeah, I don't like to make it a habit of lying. I can't say I'm not a liar, because otherwise that would make me a liar, because everybody's lied somehow, somewhere, sometime, or whatever. But I try not to make it a habit, and I try not to use it to my advantage. If it happens, it's something stupid, which I end up regretting later on. Anyway, it's best to avoid bad situations. You don't have to lie. But yes, I have crossed that border physically by car, by plane. But yes, by car, I've gone down in San Diego, but basically the majority of my youth was spent going from Oklahoma City to Mexico City. And we did it by car, because it was cheaper for a family of 3 to go by car than what it was for 3 plane tickets. And so it's 3 days going down and 3 days coming back. I know, because I did that for about 5-6 years, between the age of 4 to 11, when the US government didn't let me leave school that much. I'd make that trip 2-3 times a year. So yeah, I know. What?
I said, have you been to Europe as well?
I have, multiple times, and I can tell you visually the cultures, the different kinds of foods, the different kinds of methodologies, the way they walk, the way each one of them talks, the subtle differences between the Austrians and the Germans, the subtle differences between the East Germans and the West Germans, even though they're all capitalists now, but there's a cultural difference in the way that they view life. And you can see that in the different regions. And yeah, I've been to all of those. I've been to France, and I haven't been to France recently, and I'm scared to, because I was telling my son day before yesterday about, when we went to 4x30th birthday, we went to France because I love France. So on my wife's 30th birthday, we went to Germany because she likes Germany and that sort of stuff. I had already been to both. So I just wanted her to show her the stuff that I had seen and enjoyed. And Notre Dame is absolutely fantastic. Paris is just another level of city. But that's not why I like Paris. It's beautiful art and culture and everything else. Yes, but what I like about France is the Loire Valley. It's the architecture of the castles and the wines, and it's like, fuck this city life. Give me some wine, a nice building, and food. Other than that, I really don't give a shit about the rest of all that. Oh yeah, they built this thing they call the plane. Yeah, well, I heard about that a couple of 100 years ago because Leonardo da Vinci had already done it. But I'm good here. So yeah, I enjoy France. Sorry, my wife enjoyed Germany. I've been to both. I've been to Italy. I've been to Spain, Belgium, Holland, Amsterdam. I've been to Amsterdam 3 times, and I haven't been able to smoke there, not once. Oh, well.
Sure, I heard earlier today. I'm pretty sure France has about 120 different words for the word surrender.
I didn't learn that in French class, so I can't confirm that. But I'm sure one of them is, it's not me, c'est de moi, c'est de moi.
So me and you were talking about earlier, before
nutrition.
we got on here.
We were talking about nutrition.
We were. And as we both drink our adult beverages and consume our tobacco products because we're above the age to do so, I wanted to touch on that again. We were talking
above the age that I should be doing it anymore. I should have quit already. But anyway, smoking for 35 years has its statistical probabilities as well. Anyway.
Well, yeah. Name one person that started quitting that shouldn't have. I mean, started smoking that shouldn't have. Like, everybody should quit. I get it.
I actually chose and I enjoyed it, but when I started, I realized that it wasn't like a life choice. You can't do this your entire life because it is negative. I do things because I want to know what it's like from those types of people's perspectives. It's sort of an empath's journey to understanding, let's say. I always wanted to see the world from other people's perspectives, so I had to get into their world and their mentality and their thought processes and everything else to see the world from their perspective. So I always knew that I wouldn't be able to smoke forever and it would actually help me. No, so I actually wanted to quit when I was 20. I said it because I started smoking early. And I set a date. I said, no, by the time I'm 28, I'm going to quit smoking because by that time I'm too old to be smoking anyway. And it'll be a good time to quit. Yeah. 28 came and went. Yeah,
and
definitely.
To remind you.
Every morning. Thank you very much. So kids, don't smoke. It sucks.
No, I have this weird perspective about tobacco. And I know it's misconstrued and it's probably more of like a self-deprecating thing where it's like, oh, you're encouraging it for yourself. You're giving yourself excuses, whatever it may be.
I'm just enjoying my own personal sin.
Well, the reason I don't smoke store-bought tobacco anymore, like rolled-in cigarettes in the U.S., is because they really didn't do anything for me. After a certain point, I've kind of reached a point where I was like, oh, you're just doing this habitually. Yes. And
It
I
is
started.
habitual.
Yeah, and well, that's why what you thought was quite strange. I prefer to smoke it out of a pipe or to smoke it out of a water pipe, specifically a water pipe, because I feel like it not only
Cleans
this
out
is
the tobacco, definitely. That's what
and
a
this is
water
me
pipe's
just
for.
well, this is me justifying it at the same time. I like to pretend that the water is a better filter, and I try to buy myself natural tobacco, but every single hit of tobacco tastes like my first cigarette. I still get that lightheadedness that actually encourages people to smoke in the beginning, and then it becomes habitual. I feel like it becomes habitual at a certain point. Like your body gets so used to either the nicotine or the other chemicals inside of the tobacco that your body just becomes like wanting it, and it just becomes all right. You've met the requirements. You don't get that extra buzz that you used to get when you had your first cigarette or
No,
whatever you want to call it.
the brain does that with every chemical that we consume, which is why people eat more, which is why people eat more sugar, which is why people drink more, which is why they consume more of whatever it is that they take, because we create a resistance, and that's okay, and that's standard. However, um, the water filter actually takes out a lot of the impurities, so you're trying to do it in a healthier and more beneficial way. The reason that it reminds you of some of those first ones, because you don't necessarily have a resistance to it because you're not abusing it as much. Some statistics, and I'm not going to pull up the documentation of this. I'm not a doctor, so nobody take my fucking statistics. If you smoke, you'll get cancer. Fuck you. That includes me. So kiss my ass if I don't.
And
Maybe I'll
that's
get hit.
and that's
Maybe I'll
why
get hit
we
by a bus. Maybe I'll get hit
well, and
by a
that's why
meteor.
we started and that's why we started this with everybody that started smoking should quit cigarettes. We're just talking about our own personal experiences.
Yeah, but see, we're all destroying our body in a certain way. And so, yeah, it's best not to do any of them. And are we going to become a Buddha lost in the mountain, not doing anything, not interacting with anybody, and just, no, not necessarily. Jesus walked in Jerusalem. He was among the people. Why? Because it's the vibrations of the people. It's not just the vibrations, the tonalities of the voice. It's the actual physical magnetic interaction between two resonances, because that's what we are. We're a culmination of trillions upon trillions of resonances, because God, whenever you look at how mass actually creates before the very, I mean, how the waves create the quarks that create the protons that create the whatever. It's just a huge scale, but they're all waves and interactions that are still affected by the magnetic reactions, because our heart actually, creates magnetic resonance as well. Pause one moment. Thank you very much.
So
Right, we're back up. So sorry about the pause, folks. Had guests arriving and had to open the door. So, Jake, we were talking about bad habits and how not to do them.
so we got a live audience now, or what is this?
Yeah, we are taping live in front of an audience. Yes, definitely. So it's an audience of fewer, but still. That phrase can be said, taped live in front of a studio audience. So yeah.
So well, we were talking about bad habits, and we were talking about the body in general. Well, how do you feel in general about tattoos or something like that?
Yeah, I had gotten into, destroying the temple of God, and bad habits and vices are destructive to the body, and we should keep it clean and sacred and everything else. And then you mentioned tattoos, and I said, I think they're worse. And you said, what, worse than the smoking and drinking? And I needed to qualify that statement more or less. It was three different perspectives as per my channel. One is that blatantly, it's written about in the Bible, and you can't, put markings on your body and everything else. And so it's just as bad as all the other shit. You're all going to hell, nah, blah, 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 blah. And unless you're perfect, you ain't going anywhere. Sorry, nobody deserves to go to heaven, because we all deserve hell because of all the shit that we've done in this life, period. Any one of them means that we're imperfect and not dignified enough to go there. So anybody who thinks they are is just being arrogant. However, yeah, if that were the case, I would have tattoos, is because I'm smoking and everything else. I don't have a problem with people having tattoos. In fact, for years I wanted to have tattoos. I wanted to tattoo the name of one son on this arm and tattoo the name of my other son on the other arm. It's like, they're my boys. Because a friend of mine did that. I thought it was cool as shit and I wanted to do it. I've thought about tattoos. I've had friends with tattoos, and so I can't say much. It's kind of like smoking and drinking and some of the other things. I wanted to know the perspective of the people that were in there so that I wouldn't be judgmental and hypocritical going, oh, I better be. No, I can't. I can't say I'm better than somebody because I don't have any tattoos. Now, it's not biblical. The reason I personally don't like tattoos because they fucking hurt. Okay. It's needles. I got a thing against needles. I don't like things piercing the skin. Although I did get an earring, I've got a ball here because I let the hole close up. But I got this thing against needles, which is the reason why I didn't get into one of the most dangerous substances that there is, thank God, which is the only thing which is more addictive than cigarettes. So thank God I didn't get into that, and I did it by avoiding needles. And that would be something good to keep in mind because Big Pharma uses needles to put things in you, so don't trust needles. That's just my thing.
Are you referring to nicotine?
No. I was talking about the vaccine.
No. I thought you were talking about the most addictive substances, and I was wondering if nicotine was.
Yeah, nicotine is second only to heroin.
Or caffeine?
No, caffeine is also addictive, but that's way down there, a little bit above sugar, because sugar is also addictive. And so people are addicted to soft drinks because of the sugar and the caffeine combined. I mean, both of those stimulate that animal brain saying, I need some more of that. It'll keep me alive. But it's short time energy. It's a different vibration of essence of energy. You want your energy from things that are more based. I was listening to a video from a nutritionist and chef and that sort of thing, and he recommended the best way for you to make sure that you need this and that and the other and all those nutrients and everything else. Make your own food. Don't buy it from a restaurant and don't depend on somebody else because they need to make money. They need to make sure that somebody likes what they're doing. And so they're going to put all the things they know that the animal brain wants. And that's what marketing's been all about. And that's what the American culture has been about for the last 50 years. Consume, consume, consume. And so we're consuming as much as we can. And we're like Wall-E. Remember the robot who was, cleaning up the planet? And what were the humans like when they're up there on that yacht, just, cruising around this beautiful. Is that what we want to become? Show me those guns of yours. You ain't one of those guys in a wheelchair. I mean, damn straight. That requires energy, effort, knowledge, and pre-thought to do things before you see the consequence. So now, please shut me up. Let me know what you know. Salt, sugar, water.
I was having this discussion with somebody earlier, and me and you talked about it earlier as well. But when we were talking about it, me and the other person, it basically got to a point where people were convinced that they needed sugar in their life. And all I was thinking was, I was trying to break it down to the basics because everybody was trying to say, oh, well, fruits, natural sugars are okay. And then I'm thinking, all right, well, which one of our fruits is actually natural at this point, especially in the US? We have made apples to be so sweet. We have made bananas to be so sweet. And I even used the comparison. The closest thing we have to an actual banana that used to be a banana was a plantain. And those are also super high in sugar. And our old bananas used to have large seeds. Like we've manufactured things to be high in sugar, whether they're seedless grapes, whether like we've gotten so lazy that we sell
Not
oranges that
lazy.
are
We've perfected the art of giving the consumer what he wants. But what the
but
consumer wants
but
is what his animal brain asks for. They're just
how is
pushing these
that
things because they're easy.
how is that not laziness when you're buying an orange that's not that's already peeled for you? Like you can't
Um,
even take the effort to peel an orange anymore in the US because you can buy the already peeled kind and all you gotta do is take off the wrapper. Like,
you don't even have to take off the wrapper, just unscrew the top. It's called orange juice. Okay. And they perfected that a long fucking time ago. Okay. That's the lazy ass. Do you know how much I don't drink? I mean, I recommend lime juice with water and baking soda in the morning. That helps align your body and reduce the acidity that builds up at night, build up the day before, and that sort of thing. Because what leads to illness and disease is acidity. But then again, me being a hypocrite, I've done it and I believe in it, but I don't do it every day because I'm lazy. I mean, for me to do it, I actually cut and squeeze 4 limes into a glass and then put a little bit of water so the baking soda doesn't just foam all over the place. And so once they're together, I drink it and that's good. But, that's 15, 20 minutes of work for something that I gulp down in less than 30 seconds. It does good for my body and everything else. And if I were disciplined, responsible, and acting like an adult versus the 19-year-old, 49-year-old before you, um, uh, I would actually be doing the right things. But yeah, those are my personal paths that I need to get past. And eventually I'll be that old codgety guy that doesn't do a damn thing because he doesn't think that that's bad for you. That's bad for you. You can't do that other thing. He doesn't go anywhere. Doesn't actually enjoy life. He just worries about the shit that he can't do. And I didn't want to be that guy either. But yeah, you get to 50, you start worrying about things. You see your parents going through things. You see your grandparents going through things. And you realize that what they're going through, you just might go through as well. And so it's another perspective of a longer distance out there. Knowing
I
what
mean,
happened to my grandfather and everything else, you just kind of look out for it. But you can't fear life. Got to enjoy it. You were saying, sorry, I interrupted.
oh no, you're fine. What I was gonna say was, I mean, I've never been taught health conscious ways. It's always been something that you have to learn on your own. Not only is everybody's body different, but you have to learn what's right for your body. When
I don't care.
I was in wrestling for 18 years, and it was all about regulating my weight, how much weight I weighed. I was on the scale several times a day. As soon as
Wait,
I
all
tried
the
to,
time.
oh yeah, and it developed a mental condition in myself where I had to be on the scale so many times a day, where I was weighing what I ate, and it got to a point where it just wasn't healthy. And I was also getting pushed by a school system that was pushing a food pyramid that bread is the most important thing in your diet. Bread and pasta and carbs
That's the
and all of
worst
these.
thing you can do. I mean, it's good for a population that's starving to death, that needs sustenance so that they don't die. But if you want a healthy lifestyle and you actually have enough things around to where you're not actually starving to death, and that's not the case in the US in most cases, 62% of the population is overweight or obese, and they recognize it. They just think it's a combination of just the lifestyle,
Mhm.
sedentary, the things you eat, but it goes down to the things that you think about, not just the things that you do. Because there a lot of the overeating is because they want to compensate. I mean, fuck, it's the only legal drug anymore. Because food is as addictive as anything else. Sex is also addictive.
I feel like alcohol and food are the biggest drugs that we have. that
Hey,
people
sex
self-medicate.
is. What do you think the porn industry is about? It's all about addictions.
But the only difference is I don't think people can self-medicate besides pleasing themselves.
But that's
When
the
it
whole
comes to,
point. That's the whole point between happiness and joy. The pleasing of the self is the happiness, and that's the animal brain, and that's what marketing goes after. Now, the going after a deeper joy is understanding yourself and how you fit in, and dealing with that reality instead of trying to mold reality to what you want it to be. Um, when we're in service, it resonates different, and you digest different because when your pH levels are non-acidic or not as acidic, your DNA activates in a different way. So the DNA, the programming that you have, acts differently depending on the pH levels in your body. So you will have different reactions depending on how you think about things in the state of your body. And people don't think about that. They just think that they're machines, like an old car. It just keeps on going and it won't change. What are we looking at here, Jake?
I got our sugar intake per day levels searched on Google,
100
and
calories, that's it, of sugar?
well, that's what they suggest, and the average is much much higher than that, and those are pretty low suggestions. I've even gotten my own intake for sugar is less than 1 gram a day, and the only carbs that I'm actually taking in, because sugar, just like an abundance of everything else, is turned into sucralose or glucose inside of the body, depending on how your body digests it. Whether
Which
it's
is a
too much
sugar as
protein,
well.
whether it's too much carbs, yeah, it eventually breaks down into the same thing that sugar does. And people don't think about like the simple things. I also got what we were talking about earlier with water, and everybody's different fluids amount are based on how much exert they do during the day. Like
Yes.
they
How
have
much water you lost?
exactly. If you're putting out more effort in the day and you're sweating more, then you need to replenish those electrolytes as well as just regular water fluid. We were talking about that as well. We were talking about the two biggest things that stop people from cramping are potassium, first of all, and magnesium. For me, it personally just balances me out a little bit more. But I don't know if everybody's the same, but you have those essential nutrients that people don't think about.
That's
And
why they
we
have milk with
also,
magnesium. Magnesium is actually good and necessary for the body. Potassium as well. I mean, my great grandmother used to eat 2 bananas every day. Why? Because she needed the potassium for everything to be regular. Guga Kirtan, which is a professional tennis player here in Brazil, between each set, he would eat half a banana because that was the amount of potassium that he needed so he wouldn't get cramps during the next set. So yeah, potassium is important, definitely, and magnesium as well. Go back to the water thing. Go back to the water table that you had there. The third question that it had down is 3 liters of water too much? Let's see what they say right there. While drinking 3 liters daily may help you meet your needs, it isn't necessary for everyone. In fact, drinking too much water can be dangerous. All right. Yeah, there have been athletes that sweat a lot and they just drink water and they actually get like high water poisoning or some shit like that. But that's
well, it happened locally in our town. It was a frat exercise. Well, I don't hazing, whatever you want to call it. And somebody drank too much water. It's called drowning your organs. And what you can do, you can overexpose yourself to water just like you can anything else. And everything should be done in moderation, or should be, a controlled amount. You should know what you're putting into your body and how much of it you are.
always. I mean, but people don't think about what's going in. They just think like they put it in the gas tank. They're just filling up the car and that's it. They don't think about the body as a system, because it's too much to think about. I guess they don't want to think about that. They prefer to count the calories and have what somebody else tells them to do, versus them analyzing their own vehicle, because this is a vehicle for our soul. So we're taking care of our old car. Why? Because you can't sell it and buy a new one. Yeah, you kind of fix the tires when they start getting bald. You start fixing the tires up a little bit. You can't buy a new one.
And that's why I had to ask you about the tattoos. I'm like, well, what makes it acceptable to destroy the temple and what doesn't? Because I feel
Thing is
like
why you get it,
are
and that
irreversible.
and I talked
And
about two of the reasons, but there's a third one. Okay, and the third reason of that is why you make the tattoo. Okay, because what it is it's creating a link between you and the thought, a permanent link on your body, which is basically chaining you to that thought. Okay, so if you had a thought when you were 18, when you're 68, you're going to be chained to the exact same resonance. You're going to have the exact same thought about that thing that what you did when you were 18, 19 years old. In some situations, yeah, I'm a Marine. Yeah, right there. Fine, but that means you're a slave to the Marine. And that's okay. I mean, I got nothing against people that got tattoos. Almost everybody down here in Brazil got one. It's like a badge of honor, I guess. But and I always wanted them. However, it's later on when you start learning about the symbolism of the tribal designs and everything else, the links that it has to other dimensional influences, let's put it that way. Then you start to question exactly the why for some of those, and it becomes less important to have one, let's say. So I really wanted that cool tribal tattoo right here across my arm right here. Man, I thought that would have been, I put those stickers on and I even faked it for a summer. I think that just looks freaking awesome. And I wouldn't mind having it, but I'm not going to go out and do it because why? I'm too fucking old. So there's nothing to prove. There's nothing that I need to mark or anything else. After all, this is a used vehicle that I have to turn in at the end. Okay, so I have to.
What if you were to get something religious? What if you wanted to get a cross, or what if you wanted to get Jesus, or something more symbolic to something that you're going to represent your whole life?
That's like I said, to the Marine Corps and that sort of stuff, which is usually the tattoos that you see, Navy, Marine Corps, and all that kind of stuff.
But I feel like Marine Corps could have negative intention, like especially in God's eyes. Whoever you're fighting for isn't necessarily right, but I could
depends
see
on what you hold. And the thing is, for example, even well, the cross is the cross because that's where he gave up the soul. Okay, the cross is where he decided that he could. He decided it was time to prove who he was. It meant that he created this whole part.
And that's the thing exactly. If he already sacrificed himself for the sins that you're already going to commit, what's wrong with tattoos?
There we get into theological arguments that people have been debating now for almost 2,000 years. In fact, the dialogue that I was reading today, following some people that was debating that very argument. And then I would have to go back. Remember, the relationship is a personal one. It's not some other schmuck that's going to pay the bill. So fuck it, let's get drunk and buy all the liquor that's here because somebody else is paying the tab. You know that everything that you drink, he's the one getting the whipping for it. And if you love him, you don't want him getting whipped. And the only way for him not to get whipped is for you not to do something that makes him get whipped more. He already paid the whipping for you. You don't have to add to it. That's called love. Just because somebody else is going to get their ass whooped, which means you can do whatever you want, fine, but that means you ain't loving them, and that means that you really didn't accept the gift. Because the gift is, I'll take the whipping for you so you don't have to do it, but hey, follow me. do what I do, serve others. Be humble, be kind, be gentle, be gracious. Against these things, there are no laws.
So,
Is-
so how much do you think the average Christian is willing to put on the bearer of Jesus and the sacrifices he already gave just for their own pleasure?
Um, have you read the statistics on how much garbage we throw away individually per person per year? And then I ask you if they're really concerned about taking care of what he gave to us. I have 3 lots here. Everybody thinks I'm freaking insane because they would have built apartments there and another house, and I would have this other thing to rent out and make some money and sell this one off for profit and whatever, and just have what you need in this little thing. And what did I do? I planted fucking trees. Why? Because of basic, you need 6 square feet of plants per person to filter your own air. I don't tell others to be environmentally friendly and fuck everybody else. I do it because I know it's right. Am I going to impose it on others? No, but I sure as fuck am not going to let anybody impose their superficial bullshit on me. Because I'm, now granted it's fucked. Because I'm not in some, Manhattan penthouse, if I leverage this place, holy shit, I could plan on the stock market. I love that stuff. But I went to college for that, man. It's fucking great. But you get high on money too. And the Bible says that the love of, it's not money is evil. The love of money is the root of all evil. And we're seeing that playing out in politics and news today. The love of money, all these fucking people that we see going down, it's because of the love of fucking money. They gave up their patriotism. They gave up their country. They gave up their families. They gave up everything for fucking money. The love of money. Now, what that money can do, yeah, but they're never thinking about that. It's always about their own stuff. Did any of those billionaires actually solve the problem of hunger in the world? They could. They got enough money to buy food for everybody, but they don't. Why? Because that's not the mentality. They just want more money. It's not what the money can bring, because the money after a while isn't even worthwhile. It's just a competition of how many zeros. Then it becomes a control. And that's what we're getting into now. Do what we tell you or else. Or else what? There's only one that tells me what to do, and that's God above, the Holy Father, the creator of all. And I only have the right to tell and ask him, not tell, God forbid, sorry, ask for something because of the sacrifice of his son, Jesus Christ, for us, that allowed me to have a conversation with him. Because the fallen angels, the ones who sinned, that knew that they sinned, couldn't talk to God anymore. So they had to talk through Enoch to God. Because they lost that connection. Because when we give up the connection, it's gone. Because he gives us free will. You want out? Fine, be out. There's only one way in. The guy who's got the keys. And he's the one who already died and came back, period, because that's the key. We got nothing in this life. Nothing in this life is worth a damn thing. I mean, have you ever thought about what eternity is and compare 120 years to that? I mean, compare 120 years to, which is like the most that we can actually hope to live. Compare that to what? The 1.2 million years that Homo habilis has been on the earth, or 3.2. Homo habilis is way before us, but anyway, anthropology. We've been around for a while, and our life is meaningless on the grand scheme of things. However, that's the whole focus of my book and my channel and everything else, is because your life does have meaning, because you are here for a reason. As meaningless and powerless as we are, those that want power, well, they worship something else. Okay, and it's all coming out. It's the Great Awakening is happening, and people are finding out. The The problem is that people are going to find out how much they've been deceived by many, and that's going to be the great falling away. And after that comes in the beast system. But that's not what we were talking about. We were talking about water and the amount that we use. And the thing is that the ingredients that we put in are as important as the resonance that we have when we're taking them in. If you eat a healthy meal, but you're irritated, that's going to be some bad mojo, buddy. You're going to have a stomach ache like you can't remember. You ain't going to be able to run the next day. You know, and you can be eating grub that isn't that great, but you're in a great mood. All of a sudden, it's nourishing. Why? Because it's the way, the aspect in which we do things, the aspect in which we take it in. It's all about the intent, and it always was. Do you want to be helpful, or are you going to be an ass and take advantage of everybody? Hey, it's your choice. It's free will. You want to be an obese motherfucker, go ahead and eat as much salt as you want. Tell us to shut the fuck up. You know, take that big gulp and you know, drink 5 big gulps a day and have fucking at it. Enjoy yourself, man. It's your life. Do with it as you fucking will. The problem is the consequences are there. You do whatever the fuck you want. You choose your own style of death. Every sin leads to death. Every single one of them kills us somehow. So we choose our own death. You know, you live by the sword, you die by the sword. You know, it's consequential in the choices that we make. So you want to die for sugar? Fine, have at it. Enjoy yourself. You know, but there are some things that you can do that you can't do if you've had too much sugar. You can't climb one of these mountains and hike there and get to those places if you've been, you know, sedentary and eating sugar and getting your blood pressure up with lots of salt, you know, dehydrated the whole damn time because you're too lazy to actually drink water because soda's much easier. You know, my kids, they drink what about 2 liters of water a day? Why? Because they've always got a bottle of water next to them. I got filtered water that I put in the fridge. I learned that from my grandma. And so I do the same thing, except we've got the individual like 650 ounce little plastic bottles, reusable bottles, not the ones you buy in store. And they're thirsty. They grab 2 of those and they go up to their room and they're drinking water while they're there, you know, and so they're constantly hydrated and they're healthy for that. You know, we make the food, we don't eat out. Again, I'm broke, but I make the food and it's healthy food and it's good stuff. You know, so I make sure that it's just enough salt to give it flavor, not overdo it. It's just enough seasoning and everything else and not have the preservatives and the sugar, because some of those recipes that you read, I mean, there's all kinds of other stuff that I got to know what each one of them is doing. Okay, and so I test out each one to find out how they react to it. Because I got one that doesn't like onions, got another one that doesn't like tomatoes, you know, and you got to adjust why their bodies react different to it. And so it's the resonance that they're taking in that I want to make sure there's a healthy resonance for them. And part of that is in the mindset that I have when I'm preparing the food. There's a movie in Mexico, Como Agua para Chocolate, like water for chocolate. It's an excellent movie, came out in the 90s. Look it up. I recommend it completely. It talks about how the intent of cooking food makes food what it is. And the problem is that the majority of food that people are eating is made with the intent of, fuck it, we need to cut costs and make more money. So the FDA allows a certain amount of ant and roach parts per million in food. Ooh. They have to have some because it's impossible to eliminate all of it. Seriously? That's being done with our best intentions at heart. So you want to take care of yourself, make your own food. It's not easy, but
that's the biggest thing I've had people ask me about recently when it comes to diets is I always tell them don't try to jump into any specific diet or anything like that. First thing is cut the pop out of your life. You don't need sugar or energy drinks or anything like that. And my other thing is stop buying food from a box. If there's anything in the box that you feel like you need, it's probably more beneficial for you to eat the actual box itself. Because
Sometimes, although it
you'd
does taste good, and like once a month and then that sort of stuff, it's good to go out and have some fun, but you can't make it a habit. That's the problem.
that
I
it
mean,
can't be an everyday thing.
I had to close down a warehouse in San Diego one time. So I spent a month in San Diego, and I was on the road away from home and everything else. And I was back in the States. And so I was like, yay, I'm going to eat all the things that I fucking love and fuck everybody else. So it was the McDonald's egg, don't laugh, please. The McDonald's Egg McMuffin in the morning for breakfast with an orange juice and a coffee. And then for lunch, it was the Taco Bell combo number 5, which is plus a Mexican pizza, which is 2 soft tacos and a big Dr. Pepper and a Mexican pizza. That was lunch. And at night, it was either nothing or a pizza or a hamburger or something. Quick, normal. I gained 10 pounds in a month. It was scary. I did what I wanted, man. I enjoyed myself. That was a nice month. I was working my ass off and enjoying the foods that I enjoyed eating, because I really do enjoy those things. But the consequence that it was 10 extra that was 1 month. 1 month. Now imagine you continue doing that for 10 years. Oh my God, what happened? I was never this way. No, you weren't. It happens little by little. It's like your kid's growing. You don't notice. I mean, have you ever noticed whenever you get into a cousin's place and they're like, oh, look how big your kids have grown, because the last time they saw them, they're this size. Now they see them, they're their size. You see them the last time you saw them, they were this size. And the next time you see them, they're this size. So you don't notice, just day after day, you don't notice when they get to this big. So it's the gradual alterations that we never notice. We just notice whenever we see it before and after, wow, shit, I did look like that. How can I get back to that? It starts with worrying about it. Not worrying, but concentrating on doing the right thing. Focus. You want to know, don't listen to somebody, actually get in and learn. Grab a book about nutrition and read it. Grab it. Don't listen to a nutritionist. You can, but know it for yourself. So you trust what they're telling you. Because everybody trusts this dumbass Fauci because nobody's fucking read any of the stuff and they don't know a damn thing. So this asshat is supposed to know his shit when he's the one that's, let's not go there. Anyway, so read for yourself. You've got to know for yourself. But, I'm an egghead. I enjoy reading. I enjoy knowing because I've got to know. So yeah, you got to know for yourself. There are vitamins, minerals that are perfect. I mean, everything that's a medicine actually came from nature. So everything is here. God gave us everything we need to cure ourselves. We just need to know how. And, not leave it in the hands of people who just want to take our money. Beware the greedy. There's some really greedy bastards out there.
Let me jump in here. I wanted to start wrapping it up a little bit, but when we were talking about religion earlier, I got 2 questions that I want to ask you on the next show, and I want you to think about them before the next show. It's one, who do you think Yahweh is, and what do you think he's another person or an individual? And the other question I had, it slipped me. It might come back to me, but first off, who you think Yahweh is? Oh yeah. And the other question was, what do you think about certain individuals in the Bible and their specific age that's entitled to them and how long they've lived?
925, 950 years. Yeah, absolutely possible. Our DNA is degrading over time. Sin kills us. We degrade with every generation because of the sins that we have. We suffer for the sins of our fathers. However, who is the creator? He's God the Father, creator of everything, the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. Now, can we place him into a larger tapestry of a plethora of gods? There we get into the paganism that is the fallen angels that came here. They like to push that. Why? Because there is nothing outside. Think about a programmer and think about it in terms of the video game that we're playing. Who inside this video game is, and you think it's going to be another video game character if it's not? No. It's a guy that's got absolutely nothing to do with you. That's 25 or 80 levels above comprehension that you can even possibly fathom possible. Okay, it is just science is teaching us the things that he had to know before he created all this perfectly. And there's this Niels Bohr quote that I read this week that I love.
So wait, hold on. This is what I want to talk about on our next show.
All right, no, I didn't necessarily want to talk about that because that's a deep philosophical complex question that's been debated for thousands upon thousands, because the Jews before Christ even debated that exact same argument. I don't know if I'm worthy enough to talk about that, but all right, let's leave them hanging. We'll talk about it last week and then.
Because I do want to hear your perspective on why they would call God God at one point and they'd call him Yahweh at another. Why would you refer to the Creator as several different names? Or, you know what I mean?
There are many different names depending on the perspective of who's looking at them. For example, I didn't know that the Jamaican form of Jah, which the Rastafari use, is actually short for Yahweh. So actually they're talking about the same Creator. Fine. As long as it's not, as long as it's one Creator, the Father of all. It's not among like Zeus, and his multiple kids. That's just talking about stories of the angels that fell. It's a whole other story. There's one above, period. He made the whole thing. Okay. And outside of that, now alien races, actually, there have been some discussions that say that they believe the universe. Some of them believe that the universe is God. Okay, but God is outside the universe. He created the universe. So yeah, this is the debate that is cosmological as well. So yeah, we'll lose another hour next week on that one. That's good.
Exactly. That I have a feeling we can talk about that for a little bit. I got plenty of questions on it.
Oh, I can talk about that for eons. Thank you very much. But Jake, appreciate it. And for everyone, we'll see you next week then.